Hi there, Kate Bora and Fiona Pearman joining you for this week's live as we continue our conversation around politics and confidence. And today we want to talk to you about how to navigate office politics in organisations. And I think the first thing you really want to do is anchor into your own clarity. Understand your perspectives, raise some of your awareness, I think, initially around some of the judgments that we have and, criticisms we have around office politics, especially if you've got some of those beliefs around it's beneath me or I'm not going to waste my time there. I think it's helpful to see potentially our own judgments with regards to its presence in our organisations, but equally being able to really be clear about who you are, what matters to you, what your goals are, your values, your strengths, so that you can really use those as an anchor and a really good decision-making frame when you are coming up against some of the uncertainty that we know office politics provides.
Yeah, the next step from our perspective is to really develop some what we call political intelligence, which is basically system awareness. And we've been doing a big deep dive into that in the last couple of months. Lots of great videos on that. We want you to get really curious about the system because this allows you to reframe your perspective and it allows us to drop the judgment a little bit. We can start to ask good questions like, what are the unspoken rules here? And what's said, but importantly, what's left unsaid? What are the subtle cues, the things that are happening beneath the surface? And our aim here is to understand the whole system, both the seen, but also the unseen or unspoken or unknown pieces. And the more data we're willing to draw up, the more we're going to be able to make good decisions. Ask questions, who holds influence in this system beyond the job titles? Anyone who's worked in large organizations will know, EAs are very often the ones running the show with a huge amount of power and influence. And so making sure we have relationships with those people. What is this company's history? What's happened before here and what shapes some of the decisions that are made today? How are organizational and individual goals met or ignored? We need to get good at observing some of the group dynamics. Who's included, but importantly, who gets excluded? Whose ideas are, honoured and considered worthwhile, and maybe whose aren't. What we want here is to engage in all of these questions in a way that is accommodating, welcoming, rather than divisive. We don't want to necessarily make things right or wrong. We want to get different perspectives. And that really requires this openness, that curiosity.
Yeah, I think number three is focus on visibility with integrity. In political environments, visibility absolutely matters. You need to be seen. You need to be seen to be contributing, but you don't have to do it in a way that is out of alignment with your authentic self. So it's important to speak confidently about your outcomes that you've delivered, ask great questions, share wins in collaborative ways, take those opportunities, in the kitchen or in the lift when you run into senior stakeholders to, have good conversations. It doesn't have to go for a long time, but get yourself in rooms where decisions are made, even if you are just there as an observer, because visibility builds credibility. And the more credible you feel, the more confident you will come. And that is a really great segue into the importance of building relationships. You want to be proactive in communicating with those key stakeholders. And equally, you want to be building a trusted circle of people who potentially you can have really honest conversations, who you can ask for some really clear and direct feedback, who you can bounce ideas off in terms of how to navigate maybe through some tricky things in the organization, and who can really help you reality check what's going on. And this does take work and time. And we know particularly, it's important to do it in any organization, in any culture that you're working in, but especially in ones that have tricky office politics.
Yeah, I think the next piece is all about being willing to draw boundaries, to conserve your energy. Not every battle, not everything that you find distasteful or difficult is for you to fight. And we want to get clear about and discerning about how to conserve energy. And so I guess the important piece here is to choose the issues that you feel and are worth engaging with. Sometimes it's letting go. It's letting go of things we can't control. And it's potentially avoiding and not getting enrolled into unnecessary drama or gossip. That's often kind of some of the subtext that's going on here that's really unhelpful. And even if we just passively do it, it often has repercussions that are unhelpful. I think the more we get able to have those strong boundaries, the more we have bandwidth for the things that really matter and what's important to us. And I guess the big piece here is, like when if it all does blow up, if it all does fall apart and it feels really overwhelming, we'd really encourage you to take it less personally. We've got a big piece around executive detachment here. Again, we've done a whole series on this, and we know how important it is to be able to step back and not take it quite so personally.
Yeah, and I think in the absence of that, there is a really important conversation around whether this organization is a good cultural fit for you. We'd love, obviously, to resource you to navigate through the office politics and equally to advocate for greater openness and transparency. And, we've coached lots of women who, in the end, their best choice and the decision they make is to leave the organization and go and find a role in an organization that is more values aligned than maybe the one that they've been navigating through. And so that, again, we can circle back to the importance of being really clear about your values, what's okay, what's not okay, and maybe when it's time to move on. And it reminds me of the series we did last month, all about career crisis. And we've coached women for whom are in really tricky dynamics and for whom, very tricky office politics is a catalyst for more than just a rough patch, but a career crisis in context of their broader career. Team, we're going to leave it there. If you've enjoyed today's confidence conversation, we'd love to hear from you. And of course, if you know someone who could benefit from a little bit of support to navigate through the office politics they're meeting on a daily basis, please share this video with them. If you'd like to hear more or see more of these confidence conversations, head over to our YouTube channel. Hundreds and hundreds of videos over there, including the ones we were mentioning on self-trust, system awareness, executive detachment, as well as lots of AOC alumni sharing their stories of their acts of confidence transformations. And if and when you're ready to go deeper with your relationship with core confidence, visit our website, coreconfidence.com.au.